Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and with me is Douglas County Manager Larry Werner. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Good to have you here, and we're going to talk about the February 2nd meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. It was a busy agenda because you had to cancel a meeting because of weather and had to cram all that into two meetings. So
exactly,
there was a lot on the agenda. And one of the items was commissioners approving a settlement agreement with the Historian Inn in Gardnerville. That was in the amount of $112,000 to pay back taxes owed to Douglas County. And can you give us more detail on that one?
Right, Lloyd. This one related to the lodging tax, the room tax that the Historian Inn over the several years ago had failed to make the appropriate payments based on the room tax, the rentals that they made. And the county had been working with them for quite some time to try to come up with a payment plan, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So the board at one time had authorized the district attorney's office to file suit against the Historian Inn to collect those taxes. And in doing so, kind of came up with another, I guess, a negotiated settlement would be to allow that to be paid out over a year's period, provided they signed a consent of judgment, which meant that if they missed a payment, then the county could take over the property and dispose of it to get the back taxes. So that's currently what the board approved. We're starting the process, and over the next year we should have all the back taxes collected. As far as the property tax went, that because of the tax laws, those got satisfied early on, because after non-payment of property tax, then the county can immediately go in and seize the property and sell it for taxes. But hopefully this will all work out and everybody will kind of go on their merry way and things will be good. You know?
Okay, well, very good. So that is more or less settled, and hopefully those payments will come in over the next year.
Yes, yes. Nobody wants to own the Historian Inn, at least the county does, but so if we can get them up to speed and get them where they belong, then that would be good.
Okay. Also at that meeting, commissioners approved the distribution, this happens annually, of $170,354 for community grant awards. And who received those awards, and where'd that money come from?
The money came from two sources. One was the unanticipated ending fund balance, or unanticipated revenues, I guess I should say. And the county allocated $125,000 and change to that from the general fund. And then there's indigent funds, which we collect under state law to be used for indigent persons. And there was about $45,300 that was available to that. So to combine the two together to get up to $170,000. And those went to a myriad of agencies. One was the Austin's House, and I can give you the amounts too if you want that, or just run down the list. There's quite a list here.
Yeah, maybe just run through who got the money.
It was the Austin's House, then Between Horses and Humans, Boys and Girls Club, the Carson Valley Food Closet, Carson Valley Community Theater, the Carson Valley Pops Orchestra, Community Counseling Center, the Douglas Animal Welfare Group, Douglas County Backpack Buddies, Douglas County Hope and Healing, Family Support Council, Incredible Kids Youth and Teen Scholarships Program, the Me5Y Foundation, Suicide Prevention, Tahoe Douglas Senior Center, the Tahoe Youth and Family Services, and then the Welcome All Veterans Everywhere, commonly known as WAVE, and then the Young at Hearts. And essentially these are programs that provide social and health services to people within the community that normally, if they weren't doing it, we probably would have to figure out some sort of a program to do that, because they are all much needed and much appreciated programs.
Oh yeah, those are all very worthy programs, that's for sure. And so they all got varying amounts of money.
They did. The total request was about $222,000, and kind of had to make a distribution of the $170,000. Although not all of them received everything they wanted to. Pretty significantly, I think, matched up their needs.
Okay, very good. Well, commissioners also approved and introduced an ordinance for a major modification to the Montana Plan Development for Summit Ridge. And can you give us more detail on this action?
Yes, this was a subsequent phase of an overall development, the Montana development, that was approved back in 2000, gosh, I think 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere in that area, quite a few years ago. And then with the downturn in the economy, they weren't able to continue building out their phases as they had anticipated. So with the current uptick in development, they've come forward to do phases 3A and B. The reason it became before the board was that they wanted to do a realignment of lots. They didn't increase the number of lots, but their current buyer of that development wanted to take advantage of more view sites, just redesign the development. But because of that, it did require to have to come back before the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, so quite a few actions had to be taken to get all that done.
That's correct. That's correct. Like I say, although it doesn't change the number of lots that were developed, it does change the configuration.
Okay, very good. Commissioners heard a presentation and update on the Douglas County Economic Vitality Plan. How's the plan going?
I think it's going very well. For our talk here today, I think I kind of need to refer people to our website to be able to view it directly, because it was a kind of an update from 2010, and it was a pretty significant presentation, a lot of activities going on there, and I think if some of our viewers have an interest, that they may want to approach our website and actually look up that presentation, and it'll walk them through the different areas of economic vitality, what projects have been approved since then, kind of what's been the activity, and it's pretty enlightening.
Is that on the county's website?
It is.
It's part of it. Okay,
Yes.
so just go to the county's website and that'll direct you to the Economic Vitality Program?
Correct.
Okay. Commissioners also heard a presentation from the Carson Valley Visitors Authority. What's going on over there?
Again, this was an update by Jan, who is kind of new to the Visitors Authority. He kind of brought it up to speed of what's been happening within his area, and I would kind of say the same thing. There's been a lot of activity, and he kind of walked through what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years on that too, and there's been a lot of positive things happening, a lot of activity, and again, I would refer our viewers to our website for the same purpose, is to kind of look at all the detail there. There's a significant amount of activities taking place.
And I believe they have their own website too, don't they?
They do. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you can get more information on the internet. Right. Okay, also commissioners adopted a resolution authorizing the Community Services Director to apply for, and if successful, accept a State of Nevada Recreational Trails Program grant for improvements to the Kingsbury Grade North Trailhead.
Right. This is a trailhead, obviously up in Kingsbury area that gets a lot of use, and one of the things that was lacking was proper sanitary facilities. And working through the Nevada Recreational Trails Program, the county was able to obtain a grant to kind of working with the Forest Service up there to reconstruct parking lots, to put in bathroom facilities, and kind of just clean up the area on the trailhead site. To do that, what's interesting, it was a $350,000 grant, and of that, we can match it with in-kind services. It doesn't necessarily have to be all cash, but it's about a 5% match. And we think this is a very good project. Looking forward to see it happen too.
Okay, very good. Commissioners also heard at that February 2nd meeting a presentation from the Technology Services Department on their strategic plan.
Right. Sherry McGee, the county's Technology Services Director, has spent the last year, since she was brought on, I believe in March of last year, taking a look at all the programs, all the activities, all the things that needed to occur to actually improve and offer out better services from our IT section. Information technology, which includes obviously computers, our GPS programs, our GIS program, excuse me, telecommunications, all the electronic stuff that kind of helps us keep going. And what she's identified are areas that we have some shortcomings on, data storage, facilities, those sorts of things. So she walks through the improvements that are needed probably over the next 20 years to kind of look and see what gets us out of the kind of the dark ages of the technology sector and kind of bring us up to speed, and then start making some real significant improvements.
Well, technology has become more and more prevalent. I mean, there wasn't even a technology department 20 years ago.
That's correct.
And now it's like a central piece, and I can't even imagine what's going to happen over the next 20 years.
It is hard to say, but we all depend on it so much now that if there's any kind of a glitch, that just brings us all to a screeching halt. So.
Yes. Commissioners also approved the hiring of Jeff Brown for the vacant telecommunications technician position in Douglas County.
Right, and then this one was kind of interesting, is that there's a part of our system, our radio telecommunications system, that is still based on the old, I guess the analog equipment as opposed to digital. And it's becoming more and more difficult to find people that understand how that works. Getting the right people that are certified in, in the radio systems and that sort of thing. So we searched pretty hard to find Mr. Brown, and he had been currently working in Fallon for the FAA, doing the same kind of thing there. And he had an opportunity to come with us, so we had to go above our midpoint in hiring, which sometimes causes some consternation, but it's again one of those positions there are not very many people out there that understand how this equipment works, and becoming fewer and fewer.
Okay.
The other option would be to change out all the equipment to digital, but that's
expensive,
a
I'm
multi-million-dollar project in itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got, in certain parts of the county, melding of the analog and the digital.
That's correct.
Yeah, I see.
That's correct.
So over a period of time, a long period of time, I imagine they'll change that out. But
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Like you say, it's very expensive. Okay, on to more from the February 2nd agenda. Commissioners approved an expected legislative mandate. This is for law enforcement agencies in Nevada to adopt the body-worn camera system. So you're taking a little preemptive step here?
Well, it appears to be, yes. There has been legislation that was introduced at the last Nevada legislative session. At that time, the initial start was to require the body cameras for all law enforcement within the state. The legislature backed off of that and made it only for the Department of Public Safety within the state and got them rolling. We feel then, and the legislation is coming out, that will require local governments to also then provide this. One of the question becomes, is there grant funding available? Is there any kind of support from the state? That sort of thing. But in case there isn't, Under Sheriff Paul Howell brought forward what we might anticipate are costs. We're looking at, to equip everybody, is probably about $240,000, and then the ongoing expenses could be up as high as about $150,000 a year. So he was kind of giving us a heads up that this may be a budget impact in future years.
I see. I wonder who watches all that video. That's the thing. I mean, it'll be miles and miles of video that each officer will create on his job. And then who watches it all?
I don't know. Well, the reason we have to bring and we will have to bring somebody on that will probably be a part of our IT section we were just talking about. It's a data manager, because the sheer volume of the data that is coming from this program, I don't know that anybody will actually watch it, but we have to be able to retrieve it.
Yeah, you have to save it, and then when something comes up, then go back and find it. Yeah, I guess nobody actually watches it.
I suspect not.
Okay, that was something that occurred to me as you were talking. Also at the meeting, commissioners approved the use of a private road to serve 3 new parcels off of Jacks Valley Road.
Right, and this is the John Osquaga Ranch. John and his wife Rose are in the process of putting a conservation easement on the ranch, and they took advantage of the county's program, where if you have this type of agricultural facility, you can create 3 smaller parcels, every 5 years, I believe it is. 15 years, thank you, John. And so John wanted to do that for his family, basically get that set up, and since they're kind of interior to the ranch, it didn't make a lot of sense having this as a public road. So they had asked that they have this as a private road, maintain it themselves, and the county saw no objection to that at all.
So that means it'd be kind of a lower standard, the road?
Yes. Normally we try to get them to build it to the county standard, but it means that we wouldn't be responsible for maintenance of it, essentially.
Okay. Commissioners also heard a presentation on the North Valley wastewater treatment plant. I guess was it kind of an update? Or?
Yes. When this was initially proposed, the engineer's estimate, back in early 2015, maybe a little earlier, was about $7.8 million. And as we started into the design process, it was evident that some of the costs were going to grow. And we gave a report to the board at the 30% design stage, and at that point it was about $2.7 million over budget. And what we said we would do is come back at the 60% design stage and see if that is still holding, or if there's been any improvements one way or the other. Essentially, it's still hanging in at the roughly $10 million that we anticipated to cost now. Initially, I think we've been looking about $7.8 million. So it's just kind of keep them abreast so that when we actually start going to bids, that we don't surprise anybody, that the costs are kind of climbing on us.
Okay. Commissioners also adopted a resolution establishing administrative changes by Public Works for water system modeling services.
Right. One of the requirements that we have to do with development and getting approvals for all the infrastructure, water, sewer, drainage, that sort of thing, is that in this case it's the water system. Before we can actually approve it and permit it, it has to be reviewed by the state of Nevada, the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, and they have to sign off that the pipelines and that sort of thing meet standards.
I see.
And to do that, we have to model a system to show that we have adequate water supply, adequate pressures, that sort of thing. The way it had been written in the code originally was that the county would pay for that process. And at one time, it kind of matched the development fees that we were charging. Well, those have kind of separated. It's costing more than what our fees are. And rather than come up with another fee structure for the county, we felt that it might make more sense to actually have a system where we would contract with an engineering firm to do the modeling. Anybody coming in with a development that needed to have this done, we would work with that company, have them deal directly with that, and then we just do a pass-through and charge 10% for administration. So it kind of takes us out having to hire staff to do the modeling itself because it is kind of sporadic and probably be more efficient and quicker to have it done this way.
Okay. Commissioners also approved sending a letter of acknowledgement and support to the Governor's Office of Economic Development to award incentives to California Business Environments Incorporated. Is this somebody new coming into the area?
No, actually, it's an existing facility.
Oh, existing, okay.
Yeah, it's out at the industrial park near the airport. It's Franklin Armory. And they're looking at expanding, and one of the things they want to take advantage of is some of the tax incentives that are allowed, or the economic incentives that are allowed through the state of Nevada. They have approached the Department of Economic, or the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and to kind of move that forward, there needs to be a support letter from the local government. And so we've agreed that that does make sense, and it looks like it'd be a good business to have out there. We'd like to see businesses expand, so this kind of helps get that rolling.
Okay. Commissioners also decided to continue 3 items on the agenda relating to a request from the Tahoe Douglas District to modify services they offer, and this has been continued to the Lake Tahoe meeting on February 16.
Correct. The item was brought to us through the Tahoe Douglas District, which basically today exists to provide sewer services, the actual collection system, the pipelines, the pump stations that deliver the sewage up at the lake into the Douglas County Sewer Improvement District number 1, where the sewage is treated. They want to expand their service ability to actually go out and look at providing stormwater services.
I see.
And that is not currently within their operating plan. So to do that, they need to have that modified. And we felt that this really does need to be a Lake Tahoe-based discussion. And when they were on two meetings ago, the one we canceled, we had put it on the lake meeting, and then, or no, I guess, yeah.
It was lake. Yeah.
It was, and then it got pushed back up. And anyway, we had it all messed up and where it needed to be heard, so it will be on the February 16th meeting.
Okay, so we'll be hearing that one on the 16th.
Yes.
Commissioners also made a couple of appointments to the 911 Surcharge Advisory Committee and also the Nevada V&T Railroad Commission.
Oh, yes, and I apologize. I forgot who our 911 Advisory Surcharge Committee member was.
Actually, it was Dave Brady.
Dave Brady.
Yeah, I saw the tape.
How could I apologize, Dave, if you watch this. And then the 2 commissioners that went to the Nevada V&T Railroad Commission were Commissioner Walsh and Commissioner Nelson.
The new guys.
The new guys, yes.
Okay.
And that's kind of an odd one because there's a bill in the legislature that actually would remove Douglas County from this commission, probably effective in October. So it's kind of a short-lived appointment.
Okay.
Potentially.
All right. That pretty well covers the February 2nd meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Preview of any items coming up?
We did. We just reviewed the agenda this morning, and through the consent calendar, we have the typical reports that were due by the towns and the finance department, that sort of thing. We do have a grant that's being provided from the Nutrition Services Incentive Program for the Aging and Disability to go to the Senior Center. That amounts to about $13,000. That's on the consent agenda. And then as far as the action items, there'll be a presentation by the Tahoe Prosperity Center regarding its regional Dig Once initiative up at Lake Tahoe. And interesting, the Tahoe Prosperity Center is actually a group, almost a volunteer group, that is really working across state lines to try to do programs uniformly, both in Nevada and California. So they're kind of a volunteer group, but they do a lot to make sure that we have similar programs in both states. And so they will be giving a presentation on their programs.
Okay.
We have a request from the 9th Judicial District to actually create a fund for the grand jury. They had talked to the board before and kind of got the nod that yes, that would be funded. Well, now we actually need to create the funding and get that rolling, assuming that then the grand jury will start here at some point.
Okay.
The other one we're having is the transient lodging license tax, which is it's like a room tax that the county can impose that's above and beyond what state law does for the traditional room tax. And we had a request from the folks up at the Tahoe Township to impose this tax and then use the proceeds to do the preliminary studies for the event center that's being proposed to be constructed under the Redevelopment Authority. Timing-wise, they need to get out and do some of the engineering analysis, parking studies, that sort of thing, before the Redevelopment Authority actually has enough funding available to it to actually start doing some of those programs itself. So the board will hear this. It's a specific tax related to only Tahoe Township. It does not affect Carson Valley at all. And it's to be used for those engineering preliminary studies for economic development up in the Tahoe Township area.
Okay.
Let's see, and then there's some cleanup on some of the Title 10 of the county code. Basically, there's been some Nevada law changes, and we're cleaning that up, so that's kind of a no-brainer. And then we have the Tahoe Douglas, the one we just talked about.
The district, right?
The district is up there. There's 2 items on that, on getting public hearings started, that sort of thing. The other thing we're doing is we're asking the board to approve a letter notifying the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and Public Agency Compensation Trust, which is known as POOLPAC, which provides our workers' compensation insurance and our general property liability insurance, that we're considering withdrawing and going to self-insurance.
Oh.
And we have to give 120 days notice, so we're asking the board to authorize that letter. Kind of puts POOLPAC on notice that we're thinking about this, and then as we go through the analysis, we'd bring back any decisions to the board for them to make. But where this has been done before, it's been a significant savings to the counties, or to the jurisdictions, so we're taking a look at that.
Okay.
Community development, we got a Glenbrook parcel map, a tentative parcel map to create an additional parcel up in Glenbrook. That's pretty straightforward. And then another one we've got on is where the Virginia Canal crosses, I believe it's Muller Parkway. There have been some issues with water backing up at the crossing, and what we've found that with some of the flood waters and stuff we've had is that there's been the potential for overtopping right at the banks there. This is a project to go in and actually construct some wing walls to improve that, so that's going before the board. And another interesting one is the presentation on Assembly Bill 43, which is an Assembly bill to kind of modify Nevada's tax structure a little bit, talking about residential property tax caps.
Oh.
With what we saw in the last couple fiscal years, is the CPI was so low that the tax cap turned out to be like 0.2% that we could increase property tax. This bill would modify that to allow that to go up a little bit. We're not taking any position on this at this time. We're asking that Mary Walker, our legislator, or our lobbyist, excuse me, come in and talk about what this bill means and what it could mean to people. And then ultimately, if we need to take a position as the board or as the county, then we'll bring that back to the board for a formal position on that. We'll probably see a lot of those types as the legislature gets cranking on, where we kind of need to determine what direction the County Board of Supervisors, Board of Commissioners needs to take. And that's about it.
Boy, that sounds like a lot. Pretty full plate.
It's going to be another full plate, yes.
Okay. Okay, Larry, well, I want to thank you for all the information you shared here on the County Manager's Report. Our County Manager, Larry Werner. I'm Lloyd Higuera for the County Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.